Good afternoon. One additional practice that has been adopted in the month of Nisan is to find a time to recite the bracha of Birkat ha'ilanos, the bracha over trees. The Gemara in Brachos records a statement from Rav Yehuda Amar Rav Yehuda Haiman denafik biyome Nisan, one who goes out during the days of the month of Nisan, the chazi ilani milvalbeli, that sees a tree that is beginning to sprout, should say Baruch Shelo Chiser Be'olamo Klum, should recite the bracha that bless Hashem, that Hashem there's nothing lacking in His world, and that He created good, beautiful things, including nice trees for people to benefit from. And that practice is recorded in the Rambam, who in fact writes that one who sees such nice things, such nice trees, should in fact make a bracha on that to thank Hashem for creating that in His world. The Tur in Orach Chaim also writes that one who goes out in the days of Nisan and sees trees that are sprouting flowers, sprouting fruits, should in fact say this bracha, and that is indeed recorded in Shulchan Aruch as well. When is this to be recited? As mentioned, it should ideally be in the month of Nisan, and should ideally be when the fruits are beginning to sprout. And that is what the Torah records, that if one delays and does not recite the bracha until after the fruits are fully grown, then the Torah actually is of the opinion that lo yivarich od, one can no longer recite the bracha. The Beis Yosef, however, writes that even though that may make sense logically, but he quotes from the Mordechai that if one only sees it once the fruits are fully grown, that one still, in fact, could make the bracha. The Shulchan Aruch writes that one who goes out during Nisan and sees the trees that are sprouting fruits should say this bracha. And the Shulchan Aruch adds one additional point, which the Torah also mentioned, that how frequently do we make this bracha? Only once a year. That we don't say it every time we see a nice fruit tree, but rather we say it one time per year. Easy to keep track of if we do it once in the month of Nisan. The Shulchan Aruch also writes that, however, if like the Torah, that if one sees the tree after the fruits are already grown, then lo yivarich od, one in fact should not make that bracha. The Mishnah Berurah points out that while we do try to make this, the Mishnah Berurah points out that one should only make this bracha on a fruit tree and not a barren tree. The obligation to recite this bracha, as mentioned, is if one sees a flowering tree. However, one is not required to go ahead and go find them, but it is a pious practice to do so. That is what the poskim assume, is that one is not formally obligated to go find it, but it is appropriate to go out of your way when possible to do so. So again, now that we are entering shortly into the month of Nisan, it is the time that we go, and if we see a fruit tree that is beginning to bear fruits, that it is appropriate to say this bracha. And if we want to be pious individuals, then it is appropriate as well to go make a concerted, conscious effort to find such a tree to recite this bracha over God's creations in this month of Nisan. Have a great Shabbos.